perfect. So Grant Lee, I'm very excited to have you here, co-founder of Gamma, which is one of my favorite AI tools. Honestly, I've been fangirling Gamma on my website the whole time. I wonder, how can it be that there are no glitches? What is your secret sauce?
Thanks for that. I think, that's very kind to say there are no glitches. I think, we've tried our best to minimize, the amount of bugs and glitches. We always start by testing a lot of things internally. We call it dog fooding, where any set of new features, even at the earliest stages, we're trying to use internally and using them in ways that we think our users are also going to use well before we ever start rolling it out to users. And then when we do feel confidence and start to share with more users, we do more of a gradual rollout. So we don't kind of turn it on for everybody. We kind of roll it out just to make sure things are performing as expected, and the users aren't going to run into issues before we actually roll it out fully.
Okay, cool. You were mentioning new features. Do you have anything very exciting lined up that we could maybe share already?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the near term, we're going to have on the AI side the ability to do much more AI editing. So for things like images, to be able to either upload your own image or take an existing AI image and further refine it. So give it instructions around, being able to change the background or add objects or change the words. So those capabilities are coming soon. And in addition, the ability to have AI suggest different layouts. So the different ways to, visualize your content so that you might try, expressing the same information, but just slightly differently.
Okay, perfect. If we think about maybe AI in the future and Gamma in the future, what would you say, how will presentation makers change? Like in 10 years from now, is there any crazy idea that you already have that you could share with us?
Yeah, a lot of it has been really the same longer term vision that we've had from the very beginning, which is, we believe the way people communicate and express themselves, there haven't been sort of new tools that allow people to do more than they have in the past. And so when we think about, if someone were to create a static 16:9 slide, it's pretty limited in the way you can share that information. And so what if the same presentation could be, much more or immediately mobile friendly, mobile responsive, so you can share it on any device? What if it could be multimedia rich and interactive so that it's much more engaging and you can share it async, even if the presenter is not there for you to present? What if you had the ability to have the content be able to express their ideas in ways that felt more engaging? And so there's a lot we can do across all those dimensions. And we also feel like today, when it comes to content creation, people don't do too much because it's pretty difficult. You have to kind of piece together many different tools. If you want to do graphic design, you have to go to Adobe or maybe a tool like Canva. If you want to build a website, you have to go to a completely different tool. If you want to build a presentation, go to PowerPoint, Google Slides. We want to be the sort of all-in-one, so a place where all of that content can live in one place, and it can be much more malleable, so you can go from one format to the other without really having to think about it. It could be much more effortless.
Very cool. You mentioned the websites, and I saw you have a website builder where I can basically just copy any website, and I wish I had this when I was building my website. Would have been super helpful. But are there, maybe regarding the websites, can you say something about that? Is that a big focus of yours? Is this something that you really want to build up? Because it's very lucrative, I would guess, for a company.
Yeah, it's definitely a market we believe a lot in. I think there's obviously a lot of website builders out there today. We want to take a slightly different approach, which is to make it even simpler for people to really own themselves the entire process of design, development, editing, maintenance, so that they don't need to hire others to do it for them. And a lot of the sort of website builders today have pretty fragile templates, so that once you sort of modify or edit anything, everything starts breaking. And we want to make sure that that's not the case. So it's an area we want to be a multi-format product. So presentations, websites, again, we want that to all live in one place. It means it'll take us a little bit longer to get, website product more fully featured. So have capabilities that you might expect, things like forms and, more interactivity. And so, yeah, we definitely want to invest there, and it's something we'll continue to improve over time.
Okay, perfect. Very cool. I would love to know, do you, you're developing your product and maybe sometimes people come back to you and tell you they've used it in a completely different way than you expected it? Or are there some crazy stories where this is something that you can do with Gamma?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, when we first started building Gamma, we wanted to create building blocks that could be used for a lot of different things. We didn't, similar to, Legos or actual building blocks, that kids play with, you can basically let your imagination take you to wherever you want to go. And I think that's, the fun part about building software in that way is if you can create something that allows the user to come with their imagination, then you can allow them to create a lot of things. So we've seen all sorts of things. Even in the very beginning, before we had our website's product, people would often describe what they created as like a mini website or like a microsite. And that was because of the interactivity, the mobile friendliness that came about. And so for them, they felt like they had discovered like a brand new capability because, in PowerPoint, you would never describe what you created as, a website or a microsite. You create, you describe it as a deck or a slide deck. And so I think when we started seeing people create these much more interactive experiences, building their entire training course all within, Gamma, being able to then, sell that course or use that course as a way to engage with their community has just been really cool because I think in the past they would have really struggled to do it themselves and so would have had to maybe lean on like a developer to create that for them, and obviously that's expensive, time consuming, and then hard to change. And so we've now seen many people create all sorts of artifacts that can be shared in different ways and then allow them to actually potentially even build a business around it.
Awesome. Okay. I would like to ask you a couple of more questions more generally about AI because you're so at the forefront, right? You must have a bit more insight sometimes into things or also hear more about AI. So what's the craziest thing you heard about AI so far?
I mean, it's probably the tiny teams, the small teams doing really incredible, things that historically would take much more time and much bigger teams. In the U.S., companies like Cursor, obviously on the coding side, more recently Lovable, Bolt, we've heard are growing really fast. And I think that's just really fun to see because I think that means that there could be other teams, not everybody needs to create a venture-backed business, but it means that a lot of small teams can create really meaningful, products or projects or all sorts of services that can all be built upon AI. And for me, that's the most exciting thing is how much is now possible and how quickly it can happen.
And we will be the ones benefiting from all this, right? We will have all these crazy great tools to work with. Totally.
Yeah, the ones that want to learn it. I feel like there's a gap between, people that are willing and eager to just jump in. I think they'll be able to take advantage of all of it. And, a few years down the road, they'll really be able to benefit from it. And I do think there's some people that still feel a little bit scared or intimidated or maybe dismissive of how big this could be. And so I worry that, maybe in a few years they'll regret not having jumped in sooner. So I'm hoping that more and more people realize this is just such a gift. No matter what you're trying to do, whatever sort of industry or background you have, I think AI can help you, and it just might be helping you in different ways.
That's actually a really good cue to one of my questions. So do you believe that AI will have a bigger impact on our lives than the internet?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like every sort of technology shift or these sort of revolutions all build upon the previous one, right? And you can't really have one without the other. The internet created a massive amount of information and connectivity and really the infrastructure needed for even AI to thrive. And so you can't really say like, AI alone would have had all these, all this value. I think you kind of need both. And I think both working together is really where a lot of the magic happens. You can have these apps that can be shared across the internet and then can really democratize or like give access to this powerful technology no matter where you are in the world. So I really think they kind of go hand in hand, and it really takes like the sort of sequencing that each one can build upon, the prior generation's innovation.
Mm-hmm. What AI tool do you use the most?
I mean, outside of Gamma, I think there's really just like the obvious ones around Chat, GPT, Claude, Perplexity are ones that can be like daily use, constantly checking or doing research or going deeper down the rabbit hole for different ideas. Obviously for us, internally, we communicate both internally and externally using Gamma. So for me, a lot of my work is using that. Other tools that kind of our broader team leverages a ton, like obviously our development team, Cursor is one where is being used more and more. When we do things like customer research, Notebook LLM is a great one just to synthesize a lot of information. Midjourney is a great tool for creative assets and really ideation. And we're about to launch a new brand. And so, to build Explore and Iterate has been really awesome using that tool. And then, for like things like customer support, Intercom is one that is a daily tool that we need to be able to serve our customers and users. And so they have a lot of great AI functionality that's just really helped us streamline our entire workflows.
Okay, amazing. This was a whole list of AI tools. I will have to distract that. Perfect. Okay, last question. Do you have any tips, tricks, or hacks for using AI? You mentioned so many, like how can we get the best out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's in general, I mean, the generic answer is like, you just got to come in with a beginner's mind because like, everything's so new and it's also moving so fast. It's not worth trying to say like, hey, this is the exact way it has to be done. It's, we're all kind of participating in this evolution together. And so, subscribe to a few newsletters that you think, are well written, find a few YouTube channels that you think, capture or like are able to, provide some useful education. Go on social media, whether it's, Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok, Instagram, follow a few creators there because you can follow kind of some of the interesting things. And then honestly, when you look at your own life and like where are you spending time that you wish you could have back, many of our users wish they weren't spending so much time formatting slides or all the tedious tasks related to creating a slide deck. And so they've picked up Gamma as a way to change that. So like if you look at your own life, where do you feel like you're just wasting a lot of time that you wish you could get back? And then go, Google or go on ChatGPT or go on Claude and ask like what tools are out there that help me solve this problem or help eliminate the tedious tasks related to this problem that I'm facing, and then see if you can learn that tool, because I think that's the best way. Learn and acknowledge the pain points that you already have today and see if you can solve it with AI.
I think this is perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Okay.